Today we have Jason Taylor on the show. He is a certified manifestation coach and a certified life coach. So good to have you here.
Thanks, Nina. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm super interested to have this conversation today. I would just like to start us off with a little bit of your background story. So if you could give us a brief understanding of how you got into manifestation and how you became a coach.
Okay, yeah, a brief one. So, the brief one is when I was in college, I put on 77 pounds and I grew 4 inches because that's what my coach said I needed to be able to play the position of catcher for the baseball team at the university I walked on to. And I did that in a couple of months, which was totally unheard of. And that was my first real experience with manifestation. Fast forward years later, graduated from college, 4 businesses sold later. I did consulting for a year, and I realized that really the part I was passionate about with the consulting of small business owners was the coaching. And I said, what type of coaching? And then I found the program that I got certified in and absolutely fell in love with it and am just excited to share that I actually know how I did those manifestations early in my career, years and years ago, and throughout the different businesses. Once you have the knowledge, you can look back, like Steve Jobs said, and connect the dots pretty easily.
Yeah, it's much easier once you have gone through it and then you're looking back than when you are in that moment and you try to figure it out. Well,
Absolutely.
then I'm very curious to know what have you figured out about manifestation? How is that possible to grow at that age? That's kind of unheard of, or?
Well, all things are possible in the spiritual realm. And the beautiful thing that I figured out was that thoughts are the connecting link between the spiritual realm and the physical, tangible realm. And if you figure out how to control and direct and guide your thoughts, then you actually control the physical manifestations that'll come into your timeline.
That is a beautiful definition of manifestation, I would say.
Thanks.
You also talk a lot about different laws of the universe. Can you tell us a little bit what you mean by that?
I believe that there are laws built into the universe, into this physical environment that state if you do this, you get this, right? One of the laws is the law of compensation, right? So, the law of compensation is one of the things I like to talk about a lot. And the reason why is if you're a business owner or you're in some kind of a business, this is how you increase your income and your abundance manifestations, right? So, all areas of money are manifestations. Everything around money is a money manifestation. And this law talks to your income manifestation, which is where most of us focus on, right? We think we need to work to get income. So let's start with this one. Number one is there a need for the service you provide? As long as there's a need for the service you provide, then you can move to step two. If there's no need for the service you provide, you might want to rethink what service you provide. Then number two is where you're going to spend almost all of your time, right? This is your ability to do what you do. And the better you get at what you do, the more automatically you increase number three, which is the difficulty there is in replacing you, right? So the better I get at coaching, the harder it is to find my replacement, the more money I make at coaching. Then we break down number two into two things: the quality of your ability to do what you do and the quantity, right? So the quality of your practice, whatever that may be, whether you're in sales or gardening or marketing or whatever it is, the quality of your marketing, then the quantity of the people you're in front of, and the quantity of your marketing. And if you focus on two, you're going to increase your financial manifestations big time in your business.
Where then is that balance? Because if I think of manifestation, I think of the vision boards, I think of the positive thinking, I'm thinking of calling things in. Where's that balance between the doing, because you talked about marketing and being in front of a lot of people, and then that kind of mental energy that you give out?
An excellent question, Nina. And this becomes the income equation, right? So your income equals, let's call it the quality of your thoughts plus your channels that you have to receive, right? So the first thing we need to do is rearrange your mind in a way where it's prosperous. So you have currently we're on this frequency, and let's call it a straight line. It looks like a radio frequency right there. And usually when we get a desire, it's on a different frequency. It's something we don't have, right? If we're on that frequency, we have it. Then the desire for it is not, we like having it. We probably use it every day, but the desire for it is not as high. So those things we're talking about when we talk about desire are on a different frequency. So what you do is you go in there and you switch that frequency to the new level. And this is where our 5-step manifestation process comes in. You rearrange your mind in a way to where it is in harmony, in alignment with your new desire. And once you do that, you come up here and now you're on this frequency. Now it's just a matter of time before that manifests in your reality. And how I connect that to the physical timeline is your channels, right? So manifesting isn't magic. It doesn't you shift to that frequency and boom, it's here, right? What happens, that can happen, and that does happen. When everything aligns, that does happen. But what usually happens is you get up on that higher frequency and you're now thinking on the level of that desire. And now your inspiration, your intuition is going to inspire you to do things that will give you physical manifestations on that level of thinking, right? And this
Mm-hmm.
is where a lot of new manifestors get in trouble because they think, okay, I'm going to work on my mind, work on my mind, work on my mind. And I get this inspired action and I do it and it doesn't work. Well, actually, it did work. You spent 5 minutes in the morning on your mind, and then the rest of the day you thought, man, I don't have any clients, I don't have any money, I don't have any fish, I don't have my new puppy, I don't have my new boyfriend. And so the rest of for 5 minutes you were up here on this frequency. The rest of the day you were down here. And what usually happens is we don't do the 5 minutes working on our mind and immediately take action on what we're inspired from there. We do that, we go get our coffee, we go do our things, we procrastinate. And now our frequency is coming back down to our base, right? It's coming back down to our base. And those thoughts, we get all of a sudden we get an idea and we're like, it's from my intuition. It's a good idea. It is a good idea, but it's on the frequency that you're currently on. And it will get you the results you currently have. The key is connecting those two, which is why I'm so glad you asked that question. If you build this up, right, and you increase your frequency, when you're on that frequency, that's when you want to take those actions. And it's hardest for us at that point because it's a different frequency. It feels so uncomfortable. And it might be, I'm going to talk to this person that I really admire and appreciate and think that we can work together with, but he's so much better than I am, or she's so much better than I am. I don't know if I could do that. And I will promise you, if you're on this frequency and you have that conversation, you will get this result. And that's where we get mixed up because we don't take that action because we're so scared.
Yes, definitely. I hear you talk there about rearranging the mind. How do I get to that first bumping of frequency? What does it mean to rearrange my mind?
It's actually much simpler than you might think, right? So if you sit in the morning and you just say, okay, what kind of thoughts do I normally have? They're going to come to you. And if you're thinking these thoughts and they're like, well, I only have $1,000 in my checking account. I haven't got a new customer in 2 weeks. I need to feed the dog. I need to pick up the dog's poop. I need to Go to the grocery store. Do I have enough money to go to the grocery store? Am I going to get another client in the next 2 weeks? If those are the kind of thoughts that are coming in, you need to stop, right? Because your mind is arranged in a way of poverty thinking, right? You've got a lot of fear, a lot of doubt. So then you need to take whatever tools you have in your tool bag, and they're all over the place. You can find them on YouTube, you can find them with coaches, you can find them on podcasts, you can find them all over the place. And you take that tool and you rearrange that mind by thinking thoughts of prosperity. Or if you're trying to manifest a relationship, you think thoughts of love. You think loving thoughts, you think prosperous thoughts, and you become aligned with the frequency of prosperity. You become aligned with the frequency of love. And it's in that moment when you're aligned, and we have a very specific process I could talk to you about, but when you're aligned with that frequency, now you're going to get an inspired thought that says, go to the gas station. And you're like, I don't need gas. Why would I go to the gas station? But because you really don't want to do it and you're in that new mind arrangement, you need to go do it. Go do it. And you'll show up at the gas station and be like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. And you'll buy a scratch ticket that wins you $200,000. Or you'll meet somebody who is getting gas at a gas station he's never gotten gas before. And he happens to be on the pump across the way. And for some reason, he talks to you, which never happens at a gas station, right? Or she. And all of a sudden you have a date, right? Everybody, when I go in and I talk to colleges, all these young girls think, well, you got to be on this app and this app and this app and this app to do that. And I said, all those apps work great. They're channels. They're not source delivering it to you. They're just a channel for you to receive. The same thing works if you get an alignment here at the gas station, at the University Commons, at the hockey game, at the baseball game, in the convenience store, in the grocery store, right? And those are just channels. That's not where the good actually comes from.
It's putting ourselves in situations so there's an opportunity for the universe to do its magic, is what I hear you say there.
Yeah,
I can
absolutely.
I can almost hear people like scream into my ear when you say that. But Jason, like if I put my mind into these positive thoughts, like they don't feel real, they feel kind of fake, and I've heard that I need to be authentic all the time. What would you say to those people?
I would say, like, I've been a coach on the field for 24 plus years, coaching baseball and softball, youth baseball and softball. And what I would say is persistence is the key, right? Because an idea at first is just an idea and you're not connected to it at all. It's just a thought that came in and it's kind of a good idea. But as you practice that idea, as you practice that thought, as you continue to hang out with that thought, it's like a friend, right? You get to know them, you get to know their goods and their bads, and all of a sudden you're connected energetically. You're in tune with each other. And then you want to hang out with that friend. And then you really like that friend. And then you miss that friend when it's not in your mind, right? It's about falling in love with the idea. And always at first, the idea is just an idea. It's just another idea. We have thousands of thoughts every day. The key is you may not feel authentic at first because it's on a different frequency. But if you fall in love with that idea, you'll be on the same frequency. And once you are there, it is authentic. And I would even go as far as to say, and I may offend some people with this, but you can't do anything that isn't authentic to your current frequency.
Interesting. Yeah. I feel like we often have these kind of set points, like there is some kind of frequency that we operate from, and then we fall in love or something really cool happens, or we do the Joe Dispenza meditation, or we work with you or whatever it is, and it kind of bumps us up for a minute, and then we kind of slowly fall down to that set point. Do you have any kind of processes that you use for people to get more comfortable with that new frequency or to stay there for a longer time?
Yes, absolutely. So I use the 5 step process that I've talked about and touched on just a little bit, and I'll do a quick synopsis for you and for your audience. If I'm going and I'm just going to use me as an example. So this is how I do it, right? So if I'm going through the day, in the morning I do all of my work, right? I work on me internally. And then I write down in my journal what I need to do, the ideas that I have there so that I can make sure and I can apply those. Intuition is also about timing. And I'll just throw that in there real quick. So when I'm on that frequency and I get that idea, I need to implement it then, right? That is the best time. And what I do is I take this 5 step process and I make it really quick. It's 60 seconds. You could do this. It's going to take me longer than that to explain it, but it's 60 seconds to do. So, first, you decide, okay, the desire I am after right now is X. Okay. Number one, decide. Number two, you select it. And what I mean by that is you actually select a scene that would imply you already have that desire. So this is where your vision boards and those things come in. This scene is beyond that point. So if we're looking at a timeline and here's my manifested desire, I'm actually looking at a scene down here. It's further down the time track because that scene implies that I received this already. Okay. And right now, your desire is this specific thing, but I will tell you, it doesn't always show up this specific thing. But the thing that gets you to this end scene that you created does, and this always feels good 100% of the time. Okay. So remember when you're looking at that desire, you're at this frequency, you're back here on your time track, and that desire is on a different frequency. And your end scene is on an even higher frequency. That's like they say when you shoot for the stars, you can hit the moon, right? That's what we're doing here. So that's the second one. Get an end scene that is beyond your desire. It implies that it's already been received by you. Okay. Then number three, you got to get emotionally involved in that end scene. And one of the easiest ways to do that, which is somewhat time consuming, but how long have you been working on this, right? Write it out. So you sit there, you do this process, you picture this end scene, and then you say, "Oh yeah, I noticed this was in my end scene, and this and this," and you write it out. And every day it gets a little more detailed, a little more detailed. Well, what's happening? You're becoming in alignment with that end scene, and you're falling in love with it, right? You're paying attention to the details. If you've ever fallen in love, you remember all the details and you don't try. You just do because you're in love. When you fall in love with this end scene, now step four. And step four is the hardest thing for all of us to do. We want to control everything. But step four is about letting go. And Neville Goddard says, let the bridge of incidents naturally unfold. This is why we talk about manifestation not being magic, but a natural process that unfolds in your physical reality. You have done all the work at this point and you're in love with that end scene. Now let it go. Let that energy go out and connect and your alignment be with that end scene. And now step number 5 is just repeat that process whenever you feel fear, doubt, and you're intimidated. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this podcast interview with Nina. She's so amazing. I did the 5-step process before I came on this call because I want to make sure that I touch with my energy every single person on this call who needs to be touched. And I would not be doing you a service or your audience if I came on here unprepared on the wrong frequency. There's no right or wrong, but the wrong frequency, right?
Beautiful. So the writing it down and feeling into that scenario, I do once and then I just repeat it whenever I feel that I fall back into my old pattern. Is that what I hear? Or do I do it every morning for a while until I really have it dialed in, that kind of scenario that you talked about in step three?
It really depends on how big it is. And that's in our mind. And the only reason I say that is because the universe doesn't care. It means absolutely no difference. It's just a different frequency, whether it's this big or this small. But if you've got daily manifestations that are coming in daily that you're working on, it's like, really would like to have this cup of coffee or talk to this person or sign on 2 new clients. That's a daily thing where you don't really have to worry about writing that down, because if you know what that end scene looks like. You've had a client, right? You've had a client do well. One of your friends or family members or somebody you've touched has been inspired by you, and that's really, as a coach, that's all you're trying to do, right? So you're already in love with that end scene. When you need to write it down is if you're having difficulty, and only until you're done with that difficulty, till you're past that point, falling in love with it, right? This means you have a lot of doubt. You might have limiting beliefs. You might have some other things, which is why working through and with the tools that different coaches and teachers have provided you are so important. Because if you're struggling to create that end scene, there's some sort of energetic block that's stopping it. And oftentimes I've seen my clients work through it just by continuing to go into doing that 5 step process, going into that end scene, and then picking out the details of that scene. And all the writing down does is make it feel like it's coming from the imagination into your physical reality. And so this is sort of playing a trick on your mind, saying, this is real. This is real. This is real. That's why I'm writing it down. And when you do that, falling in love with it becomes easier. And then once you're in love with it, let it go. You don't need to do any more work on it.
If I have one of these difficult days, maybe I wanted to attract 2 new clients, like you said in one of your examples, and I have reached out to people and I have heard no like more times than I can count. And there's kind of this disappointment or anger or whatever comes with it. What do I do with that emotion? Is there a space where I should feel it, where I should express it, or should I go immediately back into that kind of mental picture that I put beforehand and try to go back to that higher frequency?
This is a beautiful question. I'm so glad you asked this. This is one that you're not going to hear from a lot of teachers, but it's about reframing what you just said, right? So when I'm manifesting 2 new clients and I'm going through and I'm getting no's, I actually view it differently. And don't get it confused with the sales training where they say, go for the nose, right? You're not going for the nose. Nobody's going for the nose. But if you go back to what I said earlier about marketing, opening up channels. So this is all marketing. This is if you make a phone call. This is if you make a direct message. This is if you send an email. This is if you reach out to somebody on Messenger. Those are all opening up a channel, right? So that's just opening up a channel. Guess what happened if somebody said no to you? Your channel was open, right? And all that no is doing is telling you, good on me. I've got my channel open. What frequency was I on, right? Because it's probably not the one I was thinking. And then you do small things, easy things, things that you can do in between messages. So you get to know, you track it, say, boom, I just opened another channel, right? Because if you remember the formula, it's rearranging your mind and opening channels. I didn't say it's getting clients, it's doing this, it's getting on this vibration. No, it's rearranging your mind and opening channels. So an open channel is any communication. If they said yes, if they said no, if they said maybe, maybe another time, I celebrate them all the same. And I'm grateful for them all the same. Opened another channel. How cool is that? Opened another channel, right? And then I go back and I say, that affected me emotionally. What right now would I desire that I can take that emotion and apply it to? And so what I do is I say, okay, this person said no. And we went through the sales process, and I thought for sure she was saying yes. And it affected me emotionally. So how would I really want that outcome? So then I just sit there and takes no more than 60 seconds. I replay the scenario in my head using that emotion that's currently in my body and applying it to the new scenario. I apply that new energy to the new scenario, put that in motion, and continue on with my prospecting.
Beautiful. You talked a few minutes ago about that example of going to the gas station. You were manifesting a person, or I think that was the example. And you have this intuitive thought of like, I should go to the gas station, but I really don't need gas. I'm not hungry. Like, what should I do at the gas station? How do you kind of guide people to build that trust, to kind of follow that niggle that is coming up in their body?
It's very simple. First, make sure that you're on the frequency you want to manifest, right? Because if you followed inspired action on this level, you're going to get results on this level. So make sure you're feeling good, you're aligned with your desire, and then you get the inspiration, right? And when you get that inspiration, then you act on it. And you just have to trust that you're coming from the new frequency. And the first thing you get is the inspiration. That's what comes first, right? If you read The Awesome Science of Luck, Peter Ragnar talks about this. The first hint is the intuition. Then your ego comes in and says, wait, why would I go to the gas station? I'm not going to, that's a waste of time. I should be prospecting. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And do we have time for me to tell like maybe a 3-minute story,
Go for it.
specific example?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this was years ago, and I was doing very well in my business, and I was looking for a developer to partner in one of my real estate businesses. And I was calling all these executives and these developers, and nobody would give me the time of day. I was a new guy in the real estate space, and they didn't even want to take my call. So then a buddy calls me up out of nowhere, and he says, hey, will you come to my bachelor party and be my best man at my wedding? And I'm like, dude, I haven't talked to you in 6 years, but yeah, I'll do it. So I organized his bachelor party, and I went to his wedding. Well, this story relates to the bachelor party. So I'm in charge of keeping track of him and keeping him level as his best man, making sure that he's safe and having a good time at this bachelor party. And we end up at a strip club, and we're at the strip club, and we're sitting there and we're talking, and this guy comes over and he's talking with me. He's like, man, you're awesome, JT. I love you. Da, da, da. Can we sit at your table? And I'm like, sure, come over. And we start talking. This is the head of the largest development company in Denver sitting next to me, and we're sharing drinks. And he says, JT, on Monday, I want you to come into my office and we'll do it. So you don't know how the universe is going to connect the dots. You never know. So if you just understand that one thing, it could be, I'm going to go walk to the mailbox right now. And I know I'm in the middle of prospecting and I've got a podcast interview in 5 minutes, but I'm going to walk to the mailbox. And something crazy happens between your house and the mailbox that you could have never planned. You could have never imagined, because if you think about it, what we know is like, it's like that big, right? This is what we can see, but this is the universe. You can't even see my hands anymore. The universe is huge, and the universe has access to every scenario. And when you're open to that and don't block it by saying, no, that doesn't make sense, why would I do that? It will deliver it faster and bigger than you could have ever imagined.
I love that story. Yeah, that drives home the point for sure.
Yeah.
Where would you suggest people to start? Because in the beginning you were sharing your story and you said like you actually grew and like all of these crazy things. And maybe that's a little bit of a stretch for someone. Like, would you recommend people to start kind of small and see the magic happen? Or should we start with the really big goals? Maybe you can talk a little bit about your own story and how you found that trust in there as well, if you like.
Yeah. And it's almost like learning backwards, right? The first thing I would say is find something you really desire, like something you want so bad. And in going back to that story, I wanted that so bad. I wanted to catch for that team, not necessarily for that coach, but that team at the school I was at that time so bad that I was willing to do anything. And that desire was just burning in here. And when he said, and I think the coach said it in jest, right? He's like, "Well, you can play third base for me because you're the right size for a third baseman, but you can't catch for me. You're not big enough to be a college catcher. So you got to put on 70 pounds, and and actually, what he said is you got to be 205, and I was maybe 175 on a really soaking wet, just got out of the pool kind of day." And you got to be 6 feet tall, right? So the coach is thinking that I don't have to worry about JT. He's going to play third base for me, and he's going to be just fine. And I said, well, I'll play third base for you in the fall, but I'm going to be those things when I come back in the spring to play. I didn't say anything about the height because I didn't think I could grow, but I could definitely put some weight on, right? People have put
Mm-hmm.
weight on. I've seen that. I believe that. I said I can put some weight on. So I did that, and I came back and I grew. I was 6 foot tall when I came back and 77 pounds heavier, which put me in the exact right range. So I would say start with something you really, really want. Because if I start with a cup of coffee, I get a cup of coffee every day, man. I mean, I got a cup of coffee right here, right? It, do I like it? Yes, I enjoy coffee, but is it going to get me to change? No, right? In manifestation is about changing frequency. If you really, 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 really desire something, you'll figure out a way to get it, and that will change the frequency you're on. So
I
that's
love
where I would
that.
start. A really big desire.
Do you have any frameworks to help people figure out their big desires? Because I feel like oftentimes we have these kind of, oh, I want to make 10K like next month, or these kind of things that society have told us that we should want. But underneath there's often like a real desire, and we are not really allowing ourselves to go there. Do you have any steps for people to discover what they really, really want?
Yeah, Tony Robbins does it really well. So if you're really struggling with this, I would go watch some of his stuff and even better participate in some of his programs. But what he says is we have this idea, and it's sort of a social norm, right? We're
Yeah.
social butterflies, and it's I want to make $1 million, which now $1 million is not what it was when everybody started saying that. It's still good money. It's not that it's not, but if you're saying that, you're not really attached to it. So what Tony does is he will reframe it and say, okay, well, why do you want $1 million? Well, and this is what I'm saying, you do, or your clients do. Why do I want $1 million? And you write that down. And then you say, why do I need $1 million for that? Why do I need that? And then a lot of times when I take my clients through this, they'll get down to the bottom and they'll say, you know what? I need $5,500 a month right now to be and get all of those things that I'm desiring. That's way less than $88,000 a month, but it'll be a big win for you, and it'll feel good, and it'll get you believing in the process. The process works for everyone every time. It's just a matter of you falling emotionally in love with the process, right? When you fall emotionally in love, when you fall in love with the idea, it becomes a belief.
I think it also speaks to that maybe misconception that happiness is something I'm gonna get to when. Like we often have these like, I'm gonna be happy when I have the house, I'm gonna be happy when I have the partner, I'm gonna be happy when I have the $1 million. But what I hear you say there is that you fall so deeply in love with that kind of version of yourself that has already achieved it, That must be a way better way of life.
100%. 100%. If the only thing you got out of this was you felt better every single day because you do this process, wouldn't that be worth it?
100%.
Right? Absolutely. This is how you be so you can have, right? You be it in your mind, in that spiritual realm, right? Then you do it in your physical environment, and now you have it. But you didn't wait until you had it to be happy. You were happy in the spiritual realm right now, where you're at. You think truth regardless of appearances.
I love that. We touched on the law of compensation. Are there any other laws that we should be aware of when we practice these manifestation steps?
Well, at risk of being the same as every other manifestation teacher out there, I'm going to say the law of attraction, right? So the law of attraction is simply a vibrational law. Everything vibrates, everything's energy. Let's say, for the example you talked about with the new client, the two new clients. I want two new
Mm-hmm.
clients today, whoever you are, or I want a new boyfriend, or I want a husband, or I want a partner, whatever it is. The first thing you should realize is that everything is energy, and we are all energetic beings. I'm an energetic being. You're an energetic being. Your two new clients are energetic beings. So, energetically, you're already connected to them. First, understand that. And this is where the law of attraction comes in, right? They're there, they're connected to you. When you get on their frequency, they start coming towards you and you start coming to them. What stops you from actually connecting is if you don't have any channels open. That's the part that I think a lot of people miss in the law of attraction process is you have to have channels open. So, do I believe you can sit in your house and meditate on the right vibration and attract the things you want? Yes and no. Yes, because you can do anything. There is no limit. And if somebody has a belief that is high enough and strong enough to make that work, it will work. I do believe that. I am not there. I will tell you that. What I would say, though, if I sit here and I do my meditation and I get in alignment and then I open a channel, now this block is gone. The law of attraction pulls to me and what I want and me to what I want. What I want is seeking me, and I am seeking it, right? And all I'm doing by opening channels is removing that block, right? A lot of times, if you go with the life coaches these days, they don't understand how that works, and they will work with you on limiting beliefs, work with you on limiting beliefs, work with you on limiting beliefs, work with you on limiting beliefs. Well, raise your hand if you worked with life coaches who worked with you on limiting beliefs and you didn't get your desires. This is me raising my hand, right? I've been there. I've done that. Well, that's the reason why. They understand that the law of attraction pulls you to what you want, but they don't understand the block is you not having an open channel, right? And does removing those limiting beliefs help? Yes. But the moment you do that process with that life coach, go open a channel, send a text message, send a direct message, do a Facebook Live, do a podcast, whatever it is you need to do to open a channel. Every channel you open is the right channel. Don't get stuck on the idea, well, what's the right channel for me? No. A open channel is the right first step for you, period. And that will permanently remove that block.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure. Do you feel that there are like any big misconception when it comes to the work that you do or manifestation at large?
Wow, that is a massive question, Nina. Yes, there are all kinds of manifestations, but I will give you one tool that'll help you filter through the noise, right? There's so many misconceptions out there. But one tool will help you filter all that noise out. Do the process exactly like your coach or teacher tells you for a minimum of 30 days. If you manifest the desires you want, then that's true. If you look at your results after 30 days and you don't have them, you can check that one off, right? Whatever it is they're teaching you is not necessarily not right, but it's not what you need right now. I'm not saying that this life coach is not right for you. A lot of people, when they first get into personal development, they need that beginner life coach who is just right here. He knows just a little bit more than you, or she knows a little bit more than you, and she can help you get to the place where now you're like, okay, I actually need something up here. It's the same with the vibration, right? That first life coach might be exactly what you needed at that moment. But don't think you have to stay with that person forever when you're both on different journeys. And when one person, hopefully you, gets to that next level, it's time to move on. And you'll know that. And your ego that we talked about earlier will say, no, JT, don't. You're good friends. This guy's so amazing. Dave is awesome. He's such a great life coach. You can't leave him. Don't do it. If you leave him, you're going to lose everything. And then you say, you know what? We're not on the same frequency anymore. I'm moving on to this. And you get this, and you immediately move up to this frequency, and boom, this manifestation you and Dave have been working on for months suddenly comes in. Suddenly the way is spelled out. This brings up an interesting point. I don't know why I'm sharing this with you, Nina, but I think it's relevant right here. Don't look for the signs of your manifestation. And this is so hard and such a key point to the law of attraction, because what happens the moment I start to look for the signs? I introduce doubt, fear, timing, right? Instead of just living in that end scene as if I already have it, I'm now saying, whoa, wait, I don't have it. I got to look for, could be that. And then you've had that guy at the networking event that's like, oh, I need to know JT, right? And then he's so overwhelming, and you're like, and you guys aren't on the same frequency. Don't do that. You're doing the same thing energetically with your desires if you look for the signs, right? So I've got a teenage daughter who's a sophomore, about to be a junior in college, and she wants a relationship. She's been dating, and she wants a strong relationship. And I said, here's the 5-step process. Do this, get on the vibration of love, and you'll find what you're looking for. So she does that, and she immediately starts to see all these things. And she's like, Dad, I saw this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. And then all of a sudden it didn't work with this guy. And it didn't work with this guy. And it didn't work with this guy. And she goes, Dad, this doesn't work. And I go, it worked perfectly. You manifested all of those people. The issue was you started to introduce doubt and fear with these people. And that's a vibration. That's an energy that you brought into the mix, which, think of it like, if you're in alignment with what you want, it's straight lines. It's a really high frequency. And then you introduce doubt, and doubt looks like this. And it messes everything up.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we can do in those moments other than to come back to that kind of scenario that we have painted? Is there any like morning practices that you do? Is there, I don't know, any secret sauce that you want to share?
Yes, everybody wants the secret sauce, right? Well, let's make it real easy, okay? In your morning practice, do something like pinch your hand, or pinch your ear, or push on your forehead, pushing on your forehead might not be a good one, because if you're in the middle of an argument with a guy that you really like and you go, that might be really weird, right? Or a girl, whatever it is, that might be weird, okay? But if it's something subtle, like you just rub the back of your neck, or you pinch your hand right here. So in your morning exercise, when you're feeling really, really wonderful, just pinch it, right? Or just touch it. And you don't have to make it any harder than that. Remember, you're an energetic being. So what you're doing is, you think of it like you're placing a pin, all right? So let's say I do a lot of sales training, especially for network marketers, right? And they're in network marketing because they're terrified of sales, and they can't get a real, I almost said a real sales job, but network marketing is a real. I got a lot of friends that make a ton of money in that, so I'm not downing that, right? But you couldn't go in and get a job because of your resume or whatever it was. So now you're in network marketing. You're enjoying it, but you're terrified of the sale. All right. So what I have them do is you just pinch right here. Okay. So you do your morning practice. You're seeing your new clients. When you're feeling absolutely wonderful, you pinch that and just picture a little pin going into that spot. So then when you're in that situation and you're having that conversation, and as soon as you feel your energy start to drop, you pinch it. Boom. You're right back up. You're right back where you need to be. And that's it. It's that instantly, right? It's that instantly because it takes you back to that moment in time when you created that pin and you feel like you did then. Now you're on the vibration of those new clients. Now you're going to say the right things, do the right things. And is that client going to convert with you? Who cares? That's an open channel. It's a new open channel. And I had one of my largest clients ever. I thought for sure this client was mine, right? And I did everything right. I said all the right things. They had a wonderful experience. Then they said no. And I was like, okay, well, it's an open channel. 2 weeks later, I get a call from some random guy, and he's like, hey, you were working with my buddy Sherry, and she did this and this and this and this. And she said all this. I want in. I want what you got. I want to drink your sauce. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are, man. But like, slow down. And he ended up being one of my largest clients.
That is perfect. So you anchor that feeling to like a physical sensation, whatever you choose to take there.
You've obviously been in personal development for a while, if you know what an anchor is. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, that has been my free time for the last 10 years, is all the videos and all the material and all of that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. I really, really enjoyed this. Is there anything more that you would like to add to round this up?
Yeah, I feel like I should say one thing to your audience. And I'm feeling that this is really going to resonate with them. You are all amazing manifestors. You manifest your entire life every single day. What I'm talking about is not teaching you a new trick. It's guiding you to learn how to intentionally manifest the life and business of your dreams. You're an awesome manifester. I don't care who you are. If you're depressed, you're awesome at manifesting depression. If you are the happiest person on earth, you are awesome at manifesting happiness. If there's something missing in your life, just get awesome at manifesting that.
Yeah, that's such an important point. We all have built these lives by manifesting. So if we get intentional about it, we can shift it around. I love
That's
that.
right.
Where do people go if they want to work with JT and dive deeper into all of these topics?
Yeah, well, I'm super active on LinkedIn. And if you jump on there and look for Jason Taylor and Backstop Coaching, you can get me. You can always reach me at manifestwithjt.com, but just reach out, DM me. Let's open a conversation. And whether you work with me or not has nothing to do with you or I. It has to do with the energy that we're both vibrating on. But there might be something that I can share with you that changes your vibration, and that'll change your world. I promise you.
I think even listening to this conversation is definitely gonna change some vibrations. This was
Absolutely. That was
super
my
fun.
intention.
We're gonna put all the links in the show notes if people are listening on YouTube. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. This was wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me, Nina. And I think your podcast is wonderful. I think what you're doing is amazing. And you're opening up an incredibly large channel to receive enormous blessings in your life.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, Tribe. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and a comment below. There's gonna be new episodes dropping every Wednesday covering everything from entrepreneurship to health, basically giving you all the tools that you need to peak perform in business and in your life. So please make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. This is a one-woman show. There is no network, there are no sponsors, and there is no editing team behind this, so it's up to me and you to spread the word about it. So if you have a friend who might benefit from what you learned today in this episode, please make sure to share a link with them. I see you next Wednesday. Much love.